So in this section, we're going to be building an awesome time tracking Apple Watch app. But before we go ahead and move into that, I just want you to get familiar with the process of creating an Apple Watch app. With your background as an iOS developer now, it's really not going to be all that hard, but I know if you initially just look at it, you might think, this is a little bit strange here. So I just want to walk through creating a very simple app, drag and drop a couple of things out there so you can see how similar Apple Watch development is to iOS app development. So let's go ahead and fire up Xcode so we can start a new project here. Okay, so once we do this, we're going to create a new Xcode project. Now this is where things are going to get a little bit different. Rather than select our normal iOS, we're going to go over into Watch OS. So this is going to display our one and only option for an app that we want to make, which is iOS app with WatchKit app. Now this is a good important thing to note, is that you cannot create an Apple Watch app without having a companion iOS app there. So it's not like you could make something just for the watch. It's got to be connected with an iOS app. And that's because when you set up an Apple Watch, it's all done through the iOS app, and that's sort of where you manage everything. And so you can have your iOS app be very simple if you want to. And in fact, when we're going through this, we're not going to spend any time on building up the iOS app because you have more than enough information to do that. But just wanted to put that out there. So we'll go ahead and create this. We'll just call this Watch Fun because we're just sort of messing around here. Keep everything by default. Now, as far as these options down here below, unit tests and UI tests, we don't need these. But for the notification scene and the compilation, so the notification scene is for if there was going to be a notification from your app, whether that's a local notification or a push notification. And a push notification is something comes right, like someone alerts you about something. Like if someone likes a picture on Instagram and you get a little notification about that, that's where you would get a push notification. We have a whole section on that in the course here, but you can decide whether or not to have the notification scene for that, and then the compilation. This is what can show up on someone's quote-unquote home screen of the Apple Watch app. So it kind of shows what's going on, like a quick view of what's inside of your app. We're not going to dive into detail on either of those, and so let's just go ahead and uncheck those. We just want to know how to make some basic Apple Watch apps, but I do want you to know what those are about if you ever want to go into them. So let's go ahead and throw this onto our desktop here. And you'll see now with this going, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about. So first is that you can see there's a lot of information out here on the left. You have your Watch Fun project, which is this Xcode project that we have. But then inside of here, this top Watch Fun folder here, this is just for the iOS app. So this, you should be familiar with everything inside of here, right? Like storyboard, info.plist, all of this should be completely normal. Now down below that, we have the Watch Fun WatchKit app. And really that's all that's going to be inside of here is the storyboard. So any sort of visual stuff you need for your Apple Watch app, it's going to go inside of here. Isn't this cool? This little mini Apple Watch screen here that you can add stuff to. And look at this, we hit this button, all sorts of little things that we can go and throw into our app here. Pretty neat. But yes, the WatchKit app, that's about all that you're going to see. And then inside of this WatchKit extension, this is where all the magic happens. This is where you write the code that's going to change the things on the storyboard and all that good stuff. So I just want you to know that basic flow. Like you have your iOS app here, the WatchKit app, which is essentially just going to be the storyboard. And then below that is the extension where you're going to have the code that affects what's going on in the storyboard. Okay. As far as testing this out, if you just run this as normal right now, this would run on just the iOS app side of things. If you want to actually test out the watch stuff, you got to move down to this watch extension. You'll see because it's got that little clock there, so you can see what it's about. And then you can choose what series of devices you want to test this on. And so you can test it out on the 38 millimeter screen Apple Watch app or the 42 millimeter. Those are the two sizes in the watch land. So you can choose which one you'd like. Let's go for a little bit of bigger one here, and let's just go ahead and hit the run button for now, just to make sure that this works, because this takes a little bit to get up and running, because not only is it going to launch the iOS simulator, but it's also going to be launching the Watch OS simulator. So a couple of things got to happen here. I do want to talk through a couple of things that you're going to see inside of here. So in the Apple Watch world, instead of having view controllers, they have something called interface controllers, which are essentially the same thing, right? Like if we go out here to our storyboard, we can build out multiple interface controllers. Like if I go ahead and hit this little button here, scroll to the top, I can bring out another interface controller. So yeah, just think of interface controllers as view controllers. These are connected via code. Here you can see this interface controller.swift. And pretty similar functions here. We've got awake, which is, this is called the very first time the app opens up. And this will activate. This is probably more similar to like your view will load, right? It gets called right before things show up for the first time, except for this one. This can be called multiple times, like depending on like, if someone goes to another interface controller and then they come back here, it's going to show up. And then the did deactivate, this is when it's about to disappear. So anyways, and pretty straightforward, like all the things I just said, it's just mentioned here in a comment, so you could probably have figured that out. But just trying to show you that interface controllers really aren't all that complex, like not too much going on. And if we go ahead and check out our simulator here, for some reason it is tweaking out. Here we go. Apple Watch faces, access your location. I'm not going to allow you my location. Okay, I shouldn't need that for the simulator. I'm a little bit worried with what's going on the iOS side of things. This must be Xcode beta freaking out. But if your app doesn't initially pop up, I know sometimes I've had this, just go ahead and hit the stop button here, then try running again. Sometimes you have to first just get the, Apple Watch simulator up and running, then hit run again to ultimately get things to show up. But let's go ahead and give this one more shot here and see if we can't get our app to show up. And our app really isn't all that much to write home about. It's just a blank screen. But look at this. When you see this coming around, this means that things are finally starting to work. And we should just be able to see a black screen, and that means that things are working for us. Okay, it still wants to know about our location. I'm going to say no to that. And if you heard that little ding, that's just from the Apple Watch here. And look at that. Our app is showing up. And if we really want to prove that this is our app, let's go ahead and grab some item from here. Like maybe I'll grab a switch and I'll put this inside of the app, and let's go run this. So that way you can tell for sure that this is our app that we're seeing here. But really, that's about all it takes. Like I said, building an Apple Watch app, an iOS app, fairly similar to how they work. So we'll go ahead and give this a second here to show up. And look at that. All of a sudden we have this cool little switch that we can tick back and forth. Pretty awesome. Okay, the next thing that I wanted to just show you, which you could probably imagine, is that you can connect things from the storyboard into your interface controller just like you would in the iOS world. So if I do a split screen here, if I have automatic selected, it's gonna have these two things connected. And let's say, for example, I want to have an action for when the switch is tapped. I can go ahead and bring this over, change this to be an action, and I'm going to call this switch tapped. Okay, just go ahead and connect that. And I'm just going to print out whatever the value of the Boolean is. So I'll just, print value here. And so now whenever someone hits that little switch button, we should be able to print out true, false, depending on what the situation is. So again, just want to show you here, very easy to connect things from the storyboard to code, just like you would see in the iOS world. And so we had a bit of an error there. The thing that we had to do in order to fix that is just go ahead and click on the top level project here for Watch Fun, move over into your build settings, click on that tab, and then just go ahead and search for embed. Okay, and this is going to come up with one of these called Always Embed Swift Standard Libraries. Switch this to yes, then go ahead and say product, clean build folder. And once that is finished, go ahead and run this one more time, and that'll get rid of our error. I previously have not had to do this for working with Apple Watch apps. I think that this is maybe something due to just the beta version, but if you're getting the same error as me, that when you make that action that everything busts up, then you may need to do this as well. But you'll see now that we've got this, as I switch this on and off, look at that. We've got true, false showing up. Isn't that cool? Okay, well, that's really it that I wanted to show you. Like I said, you should have the basics down now. You could actually go fairly far if you wanted to in creating your own apps with what we've just covered here. But we're actually going to shift gears and move towards creating an app, and I'm going to have a full sketch out of what it is that I want to create. So we'll go ahead and dive into that now.